Hello everyone, Barb here. Today I'd like to talk about a topic that isn't necessarily a mechanic in this game, but rather a byproduct of decision making, which is the only thing in this game that you can control. So without further ado, let's do a mathematical analysis on borderline trainings. What do I mean by borderline trainings? Let's look at the situation in front of us. We're doing a vodka run on current day for the current CM. It is senior year, late April. We have our energy level here. We have a chance of failure, as well as what each one of these trainings gives us. You have everything in the game to do. What decision would you make? What is the correct button to press? Pause the video and then come back. All right. If you guessed give up button, that's the correct answer because we're training for the current CM, and that's a very weird looking El Condor Pasa. Jokes aside, today I'm going to offer that what I would choose in this situation, and one that you should consider, a choice to consider, is pressing the rest button. Some of you may have gotten to this. I did make this a little bit more obvious than I thought, but I think this is enticing enough that I think we'll have some people going for speed. I think we'll have some people wanting to go for wit, and I think there's a real reason to press the rest button. As you know, when you press the rest button, you gain energy. And what happens when you gain energy? You set up future turns. This is thinking ahead or thinking forward. This is something you already do. It's something pretty simple. And it may come naturally to you, and you may not think about it in this way. We do this every run because in summer, right before summer, we like to have very high energy. We're essentially setting up our summer turns to be very good. And why do we do that? Because all of our trainings are level 5, and we know we're going to get very good stats from it. We have a higher chance of getting very good stats. So, in a vodka run, vodka does the Victoria Mile, she does the Yasuda Keenan, so you have 2 trainings left. What happened in this run when I pressed the rest button? Well, the first one, I got a wit tap that was good. That would have happened either way if I would have done the wit tap or the regular tap. However, I then got a speed tap that had an explosion on it, and I was able to do a 49 speed tap with a burst, as opposed to taking a 28 speed tap, or taking a wit tap, and then having to figure out what I want to do with my energy. In this situation, if I would have taken the wit tap and the wit tap, I could have taken this tap, but I would have been entering summer with like 35 to 40 energy and most likely would have lost a summer turn. So this situation, it worked out, but did I high roll? Was this lucky? Possibly a little bit, but there's actually a mathematical way to think about this. And bear with me. There's a mathematical way to do this, but in the end, you're going to find that you're going to grow a form of intuition that is going to exceed any mathematics. This is just a way to break it down into chunks that are very easy to process. So this is known as the expected value problem. It's essentially when you choose a decision, what is the outcome that you're going to get, the average outcome that you're going to get. We discussed in the previous video, I highly suggest it, I think it was one of my best videos I made, that Kidison Black has a 31% chance of being on speed, and Bakushin has a 25% chance about being in speed. Okay? So if we do not take a speed tap, what are the odds? How is our speed tap going to look in the new speed tap we are able to take because we took our rest now? We also said in that video that a double tap is about 7.7% as well. So when they're both on the training, it's the high roll, and that happens 7.7% of the time because of the special priorities. So, of course, the inclusion-exclusion rule means that the double gets subtracted from each single because the percentage, this is just only on speed and only on speed. If they're both on speed, it subtracts from the solo count. So this is solo, solo, double. So what do we have? We have 23.3% of a solo Kidison, a 7.7% of a double high roll, and a 17.3% of a Bakushin training on speed in the new training that we have opened up. Up next, to do an expected value problem, you need to find the expected value of the outcome, ignoring the percentage chance of happening it. So we take Kidison Black. We know the formula of this game. It is base plus bonus times 1 plus, in this case, we had great mood, so 0.2 times mood effect, times the training effectiveness, times the friendship bonus, times what's known as participation bonus, which is it's 5% additional per card or per thing on the training. And so if you do all the math is here. with Kidison Black stats, you end up getting that a Kidison Black friendship tap alone is going to be 22.82 speed on average. I say on average, it will be 22.82 speed if it's only Kidison Black. Every time. Notably, this is a level 4 training. Sakura Bakushino, we do the same exact thing, and we figure out, mass on the screen, 25.36 speed if Bakushino is the only thing on that training. Okay? On a double tap, we add everything together because this game is additive, and we have the bonus, so 12 plus 1 is 13 from the Bakushino. You add the mood effects, you add the friendships together, you add the TEFs together, the friendships together, and your participation bonus is 1.1 instead of 1.05. You do all the math, and a double tap is going to be 37.6 speed. In addition, these two cards are not the only things in your deck. It's almost impossible to model how the other cards in your deck are going to go. I find a good way, and this is just one way to simplify it, is to essentially take the average effective training effectiveness, so this is combined training effectiveness and mood effect, and averaging it out. Again, this is a pretty long and drawn out process. This will become intuition if you just think about it even a little bit and you don't really have to do all these steps. So if we take it, Marvelous Sunday is 55 mood effect for 11% effective TEF. Nishino is the same. Nice Nature is 15% TEF. Agnes Tachyon is 13% TEF plus mood effect effective. So our average TEF is 12.5% plus an additional 5% participation bonus. If any one of these actually goes on it, it's going to add to the participation bonus. Now, you have a 1 in 6 chance to actually roll speed, let's say. Let's make it simple because of priority, especially priority for whatever these other ones. So the wit cards are going to go on wit more. So we're going to have like 100 out of 600 instead of 100 out of 550. So an average of about a 1 in 6 chance to roll speeds on 4 cards. I'm simplifying. So 5/6 chance of failure raised to the 4th means that at least one of the cards will be on it at least 48% of the time. So you're successful 52% of the time. You'll have at least one of your cards on to the speed tap with the Kidison or the Bakushino or both. We're talking only these 4 middle cards. Okay? If you take weighting, there's a whole bunch of math, but essentially if you double count like 2s and 3s as 2 and 3, you actually get a 7.72 effective per chance. I'm just going to go with the base because I find it's just a lower estimate. Essentially, you're doing a coin flip. So a 50-50 chance of adding this bonus is an 8.75% chance. We're going to simplify it down to 9%. We're also going to add 5% for any other party member. So any other party on your team, you have like 10 other party members at this point in the run. So it's another 5%, and we're just going to make it easy and say 15% bonus. I think this is very reasonable. I think it's almost a low roll for this, and I don't think it's going to affect the analysis too much, but it's a good thing to note. So what do we have? We have 22.82, as we said before. Let's multiply it by the 1.15 bonus for the rest of the deck for 26.24 speed, 29.14 speed on the Bakushino, and 43.24 on our high roll. These are the expected values when these hit. Okay? We then take the occurrence percentage times the expected value on hit, and we get the expected value. So our expected value for this, because it's 20% essentially of 26, we get 6.11 speed. Bakushino is 5 speed added, and the high roll is additional 3.3 speed. What does this mean? It means that our average speed tap has an effective value, an expected value of 14.52 speed. Now you would say, hey, wasn't that tap 28? That's almost double. Well, you have to think our floor is not 0. Our floor is what we conceive it to be, which is, hey, we're not taking any bad taps. If we have a bad tap and we're high energy, we're going to race. When we race, we're getting a whole bunch of skill points, but also we're getting like 14 to 15 on a G1. Okay? If it's 12 to 13 on the other, I think the skill points will make it up for the rest of it. 15 is an easy number. Let's pick 15. So we're going to take 15. We're going to multiply it by all the other percentages. So the percentages for this is 23, 17, 7. What's left is 51.7%. So on a low roll, we're racing or we're taking a bad tap. Either way, 15 stats, right? So 7.76 stats. And so let's just say it's speed. It's not speed, but make it simple. And our expected value is about 22.42 speed. So let's look at it back again. We have a 28 tap, right? Versus our rest being an effective or expected value of 22.4 speed. We also have a 22% failure chance on this case. This failure chance is, hey, this failure chance is 22%. I'm just going to count it as 0, but really, let's be honest, that is catastrophic failure. We almost want to add a negative multiplier to it, but I'm just going to be as generous as possible and just say it's 0. You multiply it by 0.78, which is the chance of success, and you get 21.84 expected value. Your rest has 22.42 expected value. Not even mentioning the risk of pressing the failure button with catastrophe, the rest actually has more expected value. So the rest should be better mathematically to do than taking the speed tap. The same thing, you should take the wit tap into consideration. What does the wit tap give you? It gives you a little bit of energy as opposed to a big amount of energy. It may have a little bit of value there. So let's add a couple, maybe 20 stats, let's say. So 17 stats from just the 16 plus 1 for your wit tap. I find wit to be less valuable because wit will always give you energy, right? Versus having the chance of getting 22.42 speed on average, okay? So we take it, and essentially what we've done is instead of taking one of these two taps, we've essentially traded out with these two taps. And because this isn't really that lucky, it seems very good to actually just rest. And I think a lot of these taps in your runs that you're running are the same way. They are borderline taps that you're taking because of desperation or because they look good on paper, but really, if you have a lot of energy, you're gambling when it's completely unnecessary. This is going to add consistency to your runs and also a bunch of other things that we'll talk about. So this doesn't take into account friendships, unity trainings, bubble setups, stat requirements. Let's say you're lacking in speed. Well, speed's worth a lot more than other stats, right? So you have to do your own analysis on these, and you can mathematically model them for sure. It just gets stupidly complicated. Eventually, what you're going to do is you're going to have an intuition about it by just thinking about it just a little bit more than normal and just running more experience and saying, hey, I just pressed rest on that button, and half the time I got like a ridiculous roll, and half the time I did like an okay roll and I had to race, and it didn't work out, and that's fine. And this is going to reduce frustration because you're going to have less of those situations where I was saying in the previous video of catastrophic failure of these trainings failing, let's say, and you're going to remember them less, and you're just going to have a more enjoyable time. This is, again, a simplified analysis, but I find it's an analysis that is a low roll more than anything else because we're only looking at speed. You have 5 different cards. Realistically, you have speed and wit and possibly power if it's good enough. So you have 3 options, and it could line up that wit's good. It could line up that speed's good, which is what we did, and it could line up that power's good, or it could be like a good G1 turn, right? You have a bunch of other successes that I'm not taking into account, so this is really a low roll model that I'm going through. Also, a note on high rolling: if you're consistently taking these mid taps, these taps that are like okay, you're going to find your runs never really hit that peak that other people are hitting. By resting and just accepting that, hey, sometimes this isn't going to work out. Sometimes this decision of not taking a 28 now is going to bite me in the butt later. That's fine, because the upside of this is, hey, if I line up these taps that are 50 pluses and I get 2 or 3 of these decisions that go the right way, all of a sudden that's like 200 stats more on the single standard run. And basically these are very low risk decisions you're making, rather than doing the high risk ones where you are doing a 50% training failure on 48, well, all of a sudden that's a 0% training failure. These are the decisions that cause you to have more chances at getting those triple S UMAs, essentially, that you're seeing on the various social media sites. This is how they're doing it. They're going and just accepting some runs to be bad and making sure that they are set up for the right time to strike, essentially. So, in conclusion, just be more thoughtful about the taps that you're making, about the trainings that you're making. This is a training-based scenario, so you're doing a lot of trainings, but it's more of the quality than the quantity, and people underestimate race bonus. People underestimate the other buttons that you're able to do, and we've been kind of, I wouldn't say crutched by Rico, but essentially whenever we had a bad thing happen to us, we would just press the Rico button. And this sprint CM is the first time that we're actually having to make critical decisions on when we're resting, because the entire game is based off of those 5 to 6 great taps. So as a final note, just hit. So with that, burb out.